All eyes on our judiciary. So guys, we all know that the election tribunal will soon start their hearing, but Nigerians want everything to be televised, as in everything should come live. People want to watch the court hearing from the comfort of their homes, as in, and see how the judges are addressing these issues. Nobody wants a hearsay, everybody wants to experience it. So there've been this call for the judiciary to ensure that that the tribunal court hearing is televised live, as in people should have access to all the activities that will be taking place in the court on the day of the hearing. But it appears the opposition is very reluctant to accept this, because they know that their hands might not be clean. Honestly, Mr. Anthony, please, can you give my audience your take on this call for the judiciary to ensure that the court hearing is broadcasted live?
Yes, just to make sure we don't get the naysayers to protest. We're very aware that the Okuta panel was a panel, not a tribunal, but then we've seen this thing done in Kenya, and the world has changed, so there's no reason why it cannot be televised. As to the reason why there is a peculiar reason for it to be done now, yes, there are two major reasons. Number one is the results of the election, which a huge part of the population, those who voted for the elected officers, president and governors, believes the election is free and fair. Some people even say the freest and perhaps the fairest election. But there's also a huge part of the population that does not agree. Whatever you feel, agree or not, fact is that out of the voters, less than 35% voted in all, and less than 35% voted for the president-elect. So that tells you that there is over 60% of people who do not align with this president-elect. Now, to assure everybody that we have the duly elected leader for the country, and that leadership is legitimized, it will be good for the final process. I like to say here that I think that sadly but legitimately people are doubting it, and luckily they've gone to court. So to make sure that we have a final say that everybody can respect and see how decisions are made, we advocate for the procedure to be televised, so that everybody can see point by point what the people are contesting, and how and the final result, the final unchallengeable result is reached at. That is what we're hoping for. Because at the moment, people have voted. Normally it should have ended there. We're challenging it and taking it to court. So let the world see that whoever is declared winner, we can all see why such person has been declared winner.
So guys, all eyes on our judiciary. We are looking forward to them allowing this court hearing to be televised, because everybody wants to see it happening live, as in nobody wants to be told what happened in the court on that day. Nigerians want to see how our judges are going to address all these issues. So guys, let's keep our hands crossed and see how all this play out. I'm going to allow you watch this video in full. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell. Please give this video a like so that YouTube can recommend it to others, and let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you.
Yes, just to make sure we don't get the naysayers to protest. We're very aware that the Okuta panel was a panel, not a tribunal, but then we've seen this thing done in Kenya, and the world has changed, so there's no reason why it cannot be televised. As to the reason why there is a peculiar reason for it to be done now, yes, there are two major reasons. Number one is the results of the election, which a huge part of the population, those who voted for the elected officers, president and governors, believes the election is free and fair. Some people even say the freest and perhaps the fairest election. But there's also a huge part of the population that does not agree. Whatever you feel, agree or not, fact is that out of the voters, less than 35% voted in all, and less than 35% voted for the president-elect. So that tells you that there is over 60% of people who do not align with this president-elect. Now, to assure everybody that we have the duly elected leader for the country and that leadership is legitimized, it will be good for the final process. I like to say here that I think that sadly but legitimately people are doubting it, and luckily they've gone to court. So to make sure that we have a final say that everybody can respect and see how decisions are made, we advocate for the procedure to be televised so that everybody can see point by point what the people are contesting and how and the final result, the final unchallengeable result is reached at. That is what we're hoping for. Because at the moment, people have voted. Normally it should have ended there. We're challenging it and taking it to court. So let the world see that whoever is declared winner, we can all see why such person has been declared winner. And whoever is declared loser, we can all see why. Not you telling us to look, okay, because you are the only one allowed to be inside.
So I find it interesting that you say at the end, we hope to see an unchallengeable result, because let's be honest, there's a lack of trust between Nigerians and the government and agencies of government and parastatals and even independent organizations, which is what INEC is supposed to be. So one of the issues that seems to really have come up has been a lack of trust in INEC and its processes. Some of that, of course, stemming from the interviews we saw Professor Mahmoud Yakubu give during the lead up to the elections, talking about, of course, electronic transfers, sort of the miscommunication or possibly the misunderstanding of what INEC really could do with the election results. But I'm leading to something with that, because even with the judiciary, there's a lack of trust, a lack of possible understanding in the process, a lack of confidence that Nigerians have with the judicial processes that we've been seeing in recent times. So do you really think that at the end of the day, whoever is declared loser, whoever is declared winner, their supporters will really believe that that is the right result? Because many people called it before these elections that there were definitely going to be questions about the outcome.
You see, that's the whole point. Now, you are used to questioning people, and you question everything. I mean, those of us who follow you on TV know that is your style. You question everything. But you see, you're questioning everything and getting answers. All the viewers now will see the answers I'm giving. That is what we expect in court. The ultimate aim is to restore trust in institutions. And the way to do it is transparency. So the way to do it is that to make sure that issues are raised in court, everybody that wants to can see how decisions are made. They can see the argument for, the argument against, and they can see the conclusion in a way that everybody will feel justice is done. That, we believe, would help restore hope in all arms of government, not only the elected government, but also the judiciary. Because we talk about bad roads and bad education and lack of enough schools, but a crucial part for development is trust in institutions. And that is why we feel that it is important to televise these proceedings, and it is important, we've asked for the rulings to happen before the 29th of May. Mm-hmm. And let me say, these two requests we have can be done. It has been done. In Kenya, the ruling was televised. In Nigeria, in 1979, the ruling was done before the government was sworn in a presidential election. It was done in 46 days. So it is something possible. If it was doable in 1979, 1983, I'm sure we can do it now. There was no internet then. There was no beavers. There was no IREF then. We have everything now. So it is very possible to do both.
Okay, so yourself and many of those who support this call, including Femi Falana, as well as the president of the Nigerian Bar Association, says that this recommendation for televising the tribunal could help to douse the tension that Nigeria seems to have felt in the run-up and even during and after the elections, also restore unity. But I find it also interesting to legitimize the incoming government. Now, you spoke about the numbers when it came to the results of the election. By and large, it's who came out and who casted the votes that will be counted. And while we can talk about a larger percentage of people did not vote for the president at the president-elect at the end of the day, those who voted, INEC has told us the majority voted for the president-elect. When we come to legitimizing the incoming government, is that an unnecessary pressure on this particular tribunal? The vote should already legitimize this incoming government.
Well, it should, but it hasn't legitimized them. You can argue for that, but that is technicality. in political and social terms, it is important that everybody gets closure. And I do not think it's undue pressure on the judiciary. Some people have made that case, but that's not true. For one reason, but we live in a world now where if it's not on TV, people don't believe it. And also because we have direct access to most of the things. One of the most sacred books, the Quran, is now written in all languages of the world, and you can touch it. Never mind that nobody's reciting their masses in Latin anymore. The way the world is now, church services are done on Instagram. We live in a new world where the new people of the world do not understand why things should be done in a dark room by a few men. Let us also remember that since matters have gone to court, millions of people have voted. Their voice should be final. But ultimately, we're waiting for less than 12 people to actually decide who's going to rule us. So those 12 people, they have the onus to act in a way that everybody will understand it and everybody will see justice being done. And yes, the reason why we're doing it is to give everybody a good closure and to legitimize whoever has been ruled. And you see, ultimately, legitimacy comes from understanding and accepting results. No matter how much vote you get, if there's a sizable number of people who do not understand it, the problem of legitimacy remains.
So I like the fact that you mentioned that the tribunal is going to have 12 people making this decision for millions. Millions already voted. Yes. So let's also look at that fact, because we have many cases that are going before election petition tribunals. And these decisions then that are political and that are meant to be the will of the people, decided by registered voters in their localities, will end up being decided by a panel of judges. And we've heard from many people who've asked that the decision that the tribunals make should be based on what is political in terms of the right politics and not necessarily technicalities, that the wishes and votes of millions of voters should not become something that is handed to judges to be decided on legal technicalities. What do you think about that? Because a lot of people say that at the end of the day, when you have this voting exercise and millions vote and make a decision, it ends up before a tribunal and the decision is down to 12 for however many people make up the tribunal, that it again chips away at the trust in the process, in the overall process. Do you think it reflects on our democracy negatively that we end up in the tribunal so often?
Well, I think it does reflect us negatively that we end up there because, ideally, we should trust ourselves and just do things the right way. But that is ideally. In the real world, fact is we do not trust ourselves. And we must understand that we do not trust ourselves generally. That's why we have policemen, and that's why we have prisons, and that's why we have banks. Well, we also need banks for payments, but to save the money instead of keeping it at home, because some people might come to steal it. In politics, the reason why we have this is that, unfortunately, there are too many politicians in Nigeria who are willing to rig election, and there are too many political regulators who are willing to act in this process of conspiring against the people's will. Now, when you go to court, the court is looking at three things. Actually, four things. Number one is overall to respect the wishes of the people. It is in the process of respecting the wish of the people that the court has to decide three things. So their grand vision is to respect the will of the people. They have to decide, the court has to decide, if what we call the wish of the people is the true wish of the people. So that means if you and I are talking, they have to be clear that it is what I said that is being reported, it is what you said that is being reported. Not because you were forced, not because we changed it, not because I said less and you attribute more to me. That is making sure the real wish is the one out there. The other thing the court has to decide is if the people who contested should be the ones to contest. If the law says to run for a beauty pageant, you have to be in the minimum of 18 years old. I think there's no maximum anymore. You have to be minimum of 18 years old. If it turns out that you were 16, then the law is going to say, no, you shouldn't have been on that stage at all. That's the second thing the law is looking for. The third thing that the law is looking for is to say that, did you score enough votes, the right amount of vote, to be considered the winner of that election? So just as your viewers would know, you need a pass mark. Never mind distinction. The law has to say if you have a pass mark. Those are the 3 points the law is looking for. The court is going to decide on to ensure that the number 1 point, the major point, i.e. the wish of the people, is the one that we're executing in choosing leadership. The wish of the people, which must be free, clear, and in accordance with the law. That is what happens in court.
Okay, so let's talk about the courts. 180 days to decide the petitions, and law permits day-to-day hearings once all of this starts. So far, we know that 5 political parties and their candidates have filed a petition against President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the APC within the time that was allowed by the law. The APC has responded to these petitions as well as INEC, and while that of some parties and more responses are still being awaited. So Aminu Masari and Kashim Shettima's responses are still being awaited, as well as that of Hamza Al-Mustafa, who were joined in some of the petitions. So after responses of the respondents to the petition, the Courts of Appeal presidents will identify members of the panel, fix the date for commencement of hearing. But this is April 19th. We're over a month after the declaration of Tinubu as president-elect. We're about 40-something days, or just about 40 days, to the swearing in of the next president of Nigeria. And one of the main requests has been that all of this wraps up and be done before May 29th. Do you think that, well, you said earlier you think it could still be done, but given that as of now, we don't know who is on the tribunal, everything has not basically been done and tied with ribbons, as we may say, is it still possible?
Well, it is possible. I mean, if we develop a sense of urgency, a sense of understanding what needs to be done. And that is why we started doing this last month, and we've gotten over 50,000 signatures at the moment on commonvoice.ng.com, where people are signing. You see, the whole point is for people to understand a sense of urgency and acting. I repeat, we've done it before in this country. The election in 1979 was held on the 11th of August. And a winner was announced on the 16th of August. People went to court, and by the 4th of September 1979, the judge has ruled. The judgment came out on the 10th of September 1979. Election was held in August. It was held 11th of August. Winner was announced 16th of August in 1979. So it is possible. There was no internet then. With a sense of urgency, the Chief Justice of Nigeria can say, look, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, we need to get this done. And that is what we're asking for, so that institutions will be trusted, so that people can see that the institution understands the new state we are in the world, in the country, and can live up to it. The world has changed. The world we live now, people are posting less and less letters. They're sending emails. They're even doing WhatsApp. They're sending documents on WhatsApp. I like to say this, that if you notice, but our viewers should check their world, their friends, their communities, and their workplace. In 2023, if somebody sends you a WhatsApp message and you do not reply in 15 minutes, they get nervous, because we're used to instant things.
Yes.
The world changed. People were talking about the internet. Yes, internet is helpful, but the world changed when Polaroid cameras came, when people could get their pictures straight away. The new world, everything is instant. It has to be fast. And when you do not do that, you're cutting off a lot of people, you're creating a sense of alienation, and you're leaving space for doubt. So I would seriously but humbly urge the Chief Justice of Nigeria and all the judges and all the lovers of institutions and law to step in to make sure this thing is done on time and it's done in a transparent way.
All right, Professor Killer, before I let you go, I want to circle back to something I asked, because with the exception of the 2015 elections, what we've seen is that every presidential election held since 1999 has basically ended in some form of legal fireworks. There's been some form of challenge, contestation of the results as well, criticisms of the process and the electoral umpire, regardless of who was heading INEC at the point in time. when you look at it overall, for a country such as Nigeria, this exercise was the largest democratic exercise on the continent, was supposed to involve some 93.4 million registered voters. We barely scratched 40-something% in terms of, quote unquote, at the end of the day, turnout, and even those who voted. When you look at all of this, expensive exercises, just at the end of the day, to get to tribunals and be decided by 10 men, 12 men, 4 people, whoever you want to say. What does it point to? What lessons do we need to take away from this? Because we need to be able to have elections where both sides, the losing and the winning side, can say it was a clean and fair fight. We congratulate the winner, we console or we consolidate with the loser, and we move on. We struggle to move on after elections, Professor Killer.
Well, the founders of democracy, not the Nigerian democracy, the founders of democracy, what you have described is the way they intended it. And I must say, it's not something, just theoretical. In the rest of the world, it is a rare case for people to have this contestation. What happened in America with Trump is something that has not happened for hundreds of years. That is not the way it happens. The way it happens is that people trust themselves, and once election is over, it is indeed over. What do we need to do, to your specific question? One is that we need to educate people so that values are recreated, so people understand that cheating is not a good thing. We need to frown upon cheating. The other things we need to do is to make it impossible to cheat. We have to have a system where we have to rethink our system. I think the electoral system needs to be more digitalized, more decentralized, and more devolved, so that what happens is only what happens in your polling unit, and everybody's sure about their polling unit, then it is sent electronically in real time, so that we have to make sure it is not it's not something you can read. Then I also think that we need to pay more attention to the vetting system before election comes, so that all the, as you call it, technicalities that people are taking to the tribunal, I think they should have been checked out way before election time, so that when election times come, all we're doing is counting votes. And I insist that the way we're doing it, a lot more can be done. It must be said that INEC came out badly because a lot of people are bashing them, but it must be said that with the Beavers thing, they have made steps forward, because I find it interesting and worthy of mention that you can be accredited and vote straight away. Not be accredited, go home, then come back. They just need to improve of that, bearing in mind that there are people who want to cheat and who want to destroy what we're doing. There are crooks amongst those going for office. It should be said that way.
All right, Professor Killer, we'll end the conversation here. We do await, many Nigerians, as I said, are waiting with bated breath to see the tribunal really kick off. There have been, of course, petitions, counter petitions, responses, but we want to see the day where the tribunal kicks off and see if they will televise down to the very last minute the declaration of whatever decision they make. And I know you'll be following that very closely. We look forward to talking to you in the coming weeks.
Good to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And it's a conversation with an exercise that has been concluded with the states and the country voting, but it's one that continues to have long aftermath and long feelings. And at the end of the day, as Professor Killer has said, it's all about respecting the wishes of the people. Will the tribunal be able to do so? Can it, in its legal remit, find itself in a place where it's the wishes of the people that the law also follows course? And can politicians, when we look at situations like what has happened in Adamawa and other places, also respect the will of the people?
Because guys, we all know that Peter Obi's petition is a watertight petition, and the opposition, they are scared of what will become of them in court, and that is why they are not lending their voice to tell the judiciary to ensure that this court hearing is being broadcasted live. The opposition is not making that call, but I tell you, we will keep pressing on the judiciary to ensure that this court hearing is being televised. We want to see what happened. We want to see how it's going to play out in the courtroom. Nigerians want to know how the judges are going to defend themselves, over all the allegations and all the controversies surrounding Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Nigerians want to see the judges take on all these cases. We want to see how they are going to deliver justice to all these cases. So guys, let's just keep our hands crossed and watch out to see how all this plays out. No doubt a new Nigeria is possible, and that is what we are asking for. Just give us a new Nigeria. We all know that INEC dashed the hope of the Nigerian people, but there's no cause for alarm. Honestly, we are going to reclaim back our mandate. All we want is that let the judiciary do the right thing. Judiciary stick to justice. For we all know that a new Nigeria is possible. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Turn on the notification bell. Please give this video a like so that YouTube can recommend it to others. And let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you.